Welcome back, everyone. In the previous lecture, we have seen uh, how to deploy the chain code on the channel that we have created. So now the channel is in place, and we have also deployed the smart contract on top of it. So now it is time to interact with the network. So you know that your network is already up. So once the network is already up, you can use peer CLI to interact with your network. The peer CLI allows you to invoke deployed smart contracts, update channels, or even install and deploy new smart contracts from the CLI. So if you have followed the instructions to install samples, binaries, and Docker image, you will find the peer binaries in the bin folder of the Fabric sample repository. So let me show you where exactly it is. So if you have downloaded this, so you can see Fabric samples folder, and inside that you have bin folder, which you can see here. So this contains all the binaries, and the peer binary that we are talking about is right here. So this is where bin folder is where all your peer binaries exist, and one of the binary is peer binary. Now, in order to use the peer CLI, you need to set couple of paths. So you have to add those binaries which are present in bin folder to the CLI path. So after that, we also need to need to set one more variable, which is Fabric CFG path, which is Fabric configuration path, to point to the core.yaml file in the Fabric sample repository. So you guys will be provided with a file which has all this curated and elaborated description of commands and also the scenario. So I have curated certain commands that we are going to execute in this session in order to interact with the network. So follow along. If you have any doubts, you can get it clarified in the document itself, because these are the same commands that I'm executing directly from the document. It's just that the commands are so long and I don't want to switch back and forth from the document to VS Code. So that is why I've curated this list. So let me clear this console from, let me see, clear these logs from the previous lecture. Now, I'll be using this command, the first command, in order to add the binaries to the CLI path. So let me execute this command. So this is done. Now this command which I'm copying, this will set this Fabric CFG path, sorry, to point to core.yaml file in the Fabric sample repository. So let me copy this, and once it is done, your Fabric CFG path environment variable is pointing to core.yaml. Now you can now set the environment variable that allows you to operate the peer CLI as organization 1. So these are the set of commands that are needed for setting your setting you I mean your peer CLI as organization 1. So as I told before, you use peer CLI in order to communicate or in order to invoke deployed smart contracts, update channel, and install and deploy new smart contracts, right? So this is why I am setting my CLI, peer CLI as organization 1. Now let us see how what these lines of code means, and let us execute one by one. So here I am setting the core peer TLS enable to true, which means I'm setting up the transport layer security to true, which requires special TLS root certificates. So I'm gonna execute this. Let me close this. Okay, and in the second line, which is export core peer underscore peer underscore local MSP ID. So here I am setting the MSP ID for organization 1. Next, I have to provide the TLS root certificate because I have enabled I have TLS enabled for this peer. Next, I am going to configure the MSP folder path over here. Next, this is the core peer address where this peer for organization 1 is running. So after this setup, now you can use peer CLI as organization 1. Now, since you have already deployed the FabCar chain code, so FabCar chain code is the chain code that is deployed on this network, which is where the assets like car has been already he's already present on the network. So this smart contract or the chain code will actually keep track of the ownership of a car. So this is the smart contract that we have written and we have deployed on the network. So, as I told before, the aim of this course is not to explain the smart contract development. So, if you are interested in learning smart contract development, please do subscribe for the other course on coding boot camps, where you will learn extensively about writing the smart contracts and the life cycle of the smart contract. So, for this course, we are focusing on how we are going to deploy it as a network. Now, since that as those assets are already there on the network, because we have executed and we have deployed those smart contracts. So as part of that deployment, we have already put certain assets or certain cars on the network. Now, since we have set the peer as peer CLI, now we will use the peer CLI and we will try to query what are the cars that are already available on the network. As you can see, these are the assets that are already available on the blockchain. So this network contains these many assets and the response is a JSON object, as you can see here. Now, the smart contract also contains a function. We have a smart contract where you can change the ownership of a car as well. So now we are going to execute that function. This is a long command. So this command is given to you in the document itself. So here what we are doing is we have written a smart contract which is change car owner, and we are invoking that smart contract, and we are changing the owner of the car 9 to Dave. So let us see who's the owner of car 9 in this. Okay, why don't I see? Okay, here it is. So as you can see over here, this is the JSON object for car 9. So the owner is, so key is car 9 and so the record contains many other properties. So one property is make is Holden, model is Berina, color is brown, and owner is Shotaro. Now, let's execute this command, which should change the ownership of the car 9 from Shitaro to Dave. So let us see and execute this smart contract. So if you get 200 response, that means your smart contract has successfully invoked, and all other processes are happened behind the scenes in your Hyperledger Fabric network. So once you have executed this, so you should get the mm, you should get uh, the value of the owner from Shotaro to Dave. Now let us do one thing. Let's not check the log in this peer. So let us to explain or to just reassure you that consensus has worked and the same log is there in other peer as well. So let me go and change the CLI to other peer and also explain you that the smart contract execution has happened and the consensus also has happened behind the scene and the owner has been changed. Before that, uh, let us query all the cars in the current CLI. Now, as you can see here, the car 9, the owner has changed to Dave. To prove that the consensus has worked, now we are going to set the CLI, peer CLI to point to the peer of organization 2. So now let me clear this console and I am going to set the CLI, I am going to set the CLI to organization 2's peer. Okay, here I have enabled the TLS for organization 2 peer and I'm setting the local MSP ID. Next, I am giving the certificate path. Next, I am providing the MSP path. Next, this is the address where peer of organization 2 is running. Now, I'm going to check the query car by, so query car is another smart contract which is written, and this should give me the properties or the information associated with car 9. So if you see the changed value, you can see the owner has been changed from previous value to Dave. So from this you can come to a conclusion that the consensus has happened and that consensus has led to change in the ledger in both the peers. So both the peers meaning two peers like organization 1's peer and organization 2's peer is in communication, and that it formed a consortium and it formed a channel and it has executed the smart contract, and the result of the smart contract is shared in the ledger, and the same ledger detail is present in both of the peers. So this is what it means. So this explains how you can deploy and how you can interact with the network. So please follow whatever the commands that I've executed sequentially. So if you have any doubts, please go through the video again and rerun the command. And if you have any doubts or something, please do write back to us. Now that we are done with all this process. Now it's time to shut down the process. So the way to do it is same script file, and I'm gonna say down. So this has stopped the containers over here, Docker containers, and it is removing the volumes that is associated with that container. And this is again volume removal as well. So this completes how you set up the network and how you gonna deploy the chain code on the network, and how you're gonna using POCLI, how you're gonna interact with the network. So please do practice this, and we do have private sessions as well for all of these and this course and other courses as well. Please do subscribe for our private courses on coding bootcamps. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next project.